discovered the hidden truth about my $270,000 mortgage that changed my life forever. Tom stood in the driveway, staring at the modest two-story home that should have been a symbol of triumph. The white picket fence framed it perfectly, but the weight of the world sat heavily on his shoulders. Every month, the $270,000 mortgage bill ripped through his heart like a jagged knife. With each passing day, the dream of home soon felt more like a nightmare. How did I let it get this far? He thought, dread tightening its grip around his chest. Inside, the atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension. Sarah, his rock, worked tirelessly to juggle the kids, a demanding household, and her own worries about their future. He could see the weariness in her eyes, the way she forced a smile for their children's sake, and it stabbed at him as much as their rising bills. "I've got this. I'll figure it out," he insisted, though the reassuring words felt increasingly hollow. Moments when they once laughed over family dinners had turned into silence, punctuated by accusations and misunderstandings. "You need to stop working late," Sarah pleaded one evening, her voice breaking. "You're not the only one feeling this strain." The fire in her words was undeniable, but Tom's pride snuffed it out before he could comprehend the truth. The reality was that he wasn't just fighting for the family's financial future. He was fighting against the very idea of needing help. Then, a flyer appeared at the local church, advertising a fundraising campaign for families teetering on the edge. Tom crumpled it in his hands, scowling. Accepting charity? No way. He'd built his life on self-reliance and hard work, just like his father, an old war veteran who fought for the freedom they'd all enjoyed. How could he let his father's legacy down? Before he could delve deeper into his turmoil, he strolled down memory lane while cleaning out his late grandmother's attic. Among the dust and forgotten memories, he uncovered a beautifully carved wooden box. Inside, he found letters from generations past, stories of neighbors lending a hand to one another during tough times. Tears filled his eyes as he felt their sorrow and laughter. Maybe I'm not alone," he whispered, shaken by the weight of the revelations. During a town hall meeting filled with worried faces, Tom felt the urgency mounting inside him. As he stood and spoke, a different man than the one who had walked in emerged. His voice wavered, but resonated with the strength of his ancestors' legacy. "We need to help each other," he urged, eyes gleaming with passion. For a moment, silence wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. Would they see him as a leader or a burden? Just as he contemplated stepping back from the podium, an invitation caught his eye, a glimmer of hope, an opportunity that could reshape everything. But doubt whispered in his ear. Accepting help felt like betraying everything he stood for. Could he really embrace a different notion of family, one rooted in support and solidarity? The audience held its breath, and he stood there, heart racing, lost in a swirl of identity and pride, as he pondered if he was finally ready to accept both help and his own worth. Tom felt the eyes of the room on him, each gaze like a warm hand, yet heavy with judgment. The silence was palpable, stretching taut as a bowstring. He could hear his heart pounding in his ears, a relentless reminder of the time slipping away. With a deep breath, he struggled against the urge to shrink back into the shadows. What if he chose to speak? What if he raised his voice against the tide of fear that had swept through him for so long? Help, the word barely escaped his lips, a whisper drowning in the weight of his pride. Yet just as quickly, it morphed into a declaration as he continued, "Isn't a weakness. It's strength. It's what binds us together." The resonance of his own statement shocked him. Had he really just said that? The room seemed to sigh, some nodding slowly, others shifting uneasily. Tom sensed a shift in the air, an almost electric buzz of connection, and a flutter of hope ignited within him. Maybe he was not alone after all. Encouraged by the subtle changes in the audience's demeanor, he pressed forward. "When we share our struggles, we invite each other into our lives. I'm standing here, admitting that I can't carry this burden alone anymore." He felt lighter, as if he was shedding the weight of years spent trapped by expectations. Sarah's face softened in the crowd, her lips parting in a tentative smile. That brief flicker of pride encouraged him to push deeper into the shared experience. "I thought that by holding it together, I'd be protecting my family. But the truth is, we are stronger together. We have to lean on one another. We need community. Tom's words rippled through the room, drawing in others who might have felt the same way. Faces normally tense and withdrawn were now open and reflective. He caught a glint of determination in Sarah's eyes as she leaned forward, encouragingly. Maybe it's time for all of us to let go of the idea that we must do everything alone, he continued. We are in this together. If I've learned anything from my grandmother's box of secrets, it's this: a village can carry the weight when one person finds it too heavy. A murmur of agreement went through the room, a chorus of whispers and nods. The invitation on the podium began to glow brighter in Tom's mind, a lifeline in the darkness. Then, without thinking, he pulled out a small piece of paper, shaking slightly. He read it aloud. The town is hosting a local meetup to discuss how we can support each other during tough times. The words seemed to hang in the air, caressing the crowd with possibility. After he finished, the silence was heavy, but this time, it wasn't oppressive. It felt charged with potential. Several people stood, voices of relatives, neighbors, and friends echoed with promises of support. Ideas flowed like an open tap, rich and nourishing, but just when Tom thought he saw a path forward, a familiar face in the crowd darkened his spirit, a former financial advisor who had turned into a naysayer, now scowling openly. What makes you think a support group will solve your problems? He called out, his voice cutting through the warmth. Instantly, Tom's heart sank. Was he ready for the battle that lay ahead? Doubts crept back in, but as they circled around him, he remembered Sarah's smile, the glimmers of hope he had ignited. Wasn't it worth the risk? Would this fight be the first step towards acceptance and healing? As the town hall buzzed with excitement, Tom took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the sea of faces eager for change. One monumental question loomed over him. How far would he go to redefine his sense of worth and the meaning of family? And as the night deepened, he stood on the brink of genuine transformation. A pivotal moment awaiting him, a moment destined to shape the future of their lives forever. Tom swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the naysayers' challenge settle over him like a cold blanket. But Sarah's encouraging glance ignited a spark inside him. He wasn't just speaking for himself anymore. He was speaking for everyone who felt alone in their struggles. Clearing his throat, he pushed back against the doubt. Why do you think we need to stay silent? His voice gained strength, the quiet tremor replaced by a resonant confidence. You might think your pain doesn't matter. You might think you're fighting your battles alone. But look around, every one of us has wounds we carry. We need to talk about them. We need to face them together. The former advisor opened his mouth but was cut off by a wave of murmurs sweeping through the crowd. It was as if the heart of the room had synced with his words, beating in unison. The audience was no longer just spectators, they were participants. People began to rise one by one, sharing snippets of their own struggles, like petals unfurling to the sun. A woman in the back stood up, her voice shaking slightly. I've lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills, she confessed. The room responded with whispers of empathy, and heads nodded in understanding. Tom remembered feeling just like her, the helplessness swirling around him like a storm. You are not alone, he said, amplifying her truth. We all have moments that make us feel like we're drowning. But it's time to come together. Another voice chimed in, a soft but firm response. What if we built a network? A way to protect each other? The idea landed with a comforting thud, resonating deeply in Tom's heart. Exactly, he exclaimed, the excitement lifting his spirit. Imagine a place where we can meet regularly, share resources, help each other in finding jobs, or just lend a listening ear when things get tough. It starts with us. As people began to discuss logistics, Tom's heart swelled. This was happening. They weren't standing on the precipice of despair. They were crafting a bridge of understanding, opening pathways toward collective healing. But just when the room was filled with hopeful chatter and smiling faces, the naysayer's voice cut through again like glass shattering in the quiet. You're all dreaming. This is nothing but wishful thinking. His scornful demeanor didn't shake Tom's resolve. Instead, it energized him. Dreams are the first step to a brighter tomorrow. He fired back, his heart racing. This isn't about thinking it will happen, it's about making it happen. Are we going to let a few voices of doubt drown out our hope? A ripple of agreement washed through the group, voices rising in chorus as they rallied together. No, we want tea. Not anymore. Tom took a moment to catch his breath, overwhelmed by the strength in their unity. He glanced at Sarah, who gave him an encouraging thumbs up. Her faith felt like a buoy in the tumultuous sea of his thoughts. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were not just dreaming but unearthing the truth about what it means to support one another. The discussion deepened, with plans forming and roles emerging. Tom's heart soared, the weight of his burdens feeling lighter, carried by the promise of connection and friendship. But as they scribbled notes and exchanged phone numbers, Tom's thoughts wandered back to the advisor's cutting words. What if this was all a mistake? What if they failed? Before doubt could dig its claws in, he directed his focus to the task ahead, knowing they'd overcome obstacles together. After all, they were families intertwined, communities crafted side by side, never meant to face darkness alone. Yet, just as triumph seemed within grasp, uncertainty flashed anew. What would happen when the real challenges began? And would the bonds forged in this moment withstand the tests of time? With a flicker of doubt and a heart full of hope, Tom whispered to himself, was he ready to face what lay ahead? The energy in the room buzzed like a live wire, voices mingling in a tapestry of hope and determination. Tom's heart quickened as the conversation swelled and flowed. It felt electric, this idea of building something meaningful together. Yet, as quickly as the excitement had built, a knot tightened in his stomach. Doubt crept back, slinking in the shadows of his joy. Can we really do this? He glanced at Sarah, who was animatedly jotting down ideas. He could tell she was having a moment of clarity, as bright as the sunlight streaming through the windows. What if those voices of doubt really whisper louder when we hit bumps in the road? His mind flickered to the future. He imagined meetings filled with joy, but also moments of silence and uncertainty. What if someone didn't show up? What if people grew weary? Maybe all those hopes would unravel, leaving him standing alone on a fragile thread of promise. Hey, Sarah's voice cut through as she approached, her expression a mixture of concern and empathy. You okay? He nodded, not wanting to burden her with his fears. Just thinking how to keep this momentum going. She smiled, that warm, genuine smile that always seemed to ground him. You're not alone in this, remember? Look at everyone here. They're ready, Tom. We just need to keep communicating. He watched people speaking animatedly, the worry etched on their faces transforming into glimmers of hope. It warmed him, but a flicker of doubt still loomed over them, like a cloud heavy and dark. Tim, an older man with salt and pepper hair, interrupted with a newfound enthusiasm. We can create a monthly gathering. Share experiences, resources, maybe even financial advice. His eyes sparkled with determination. Must be some lessons we've each learned along the way. We can call ourselves the Connector Circle. Someone shouted, sparking spontaneous cheers and laughter. Tom inhaled sharply, feeling possible change bubbling to the surface. As the names of potential meeting locations were tossed around, Tom's hands fidgeted with a pen. What if it all fell through? What if the plan to build this supportive network crumbled? But as if reading his thoughts, Sarah squeezed his shoulder, grounding him back into the moment. Every great journey starts with a few simple steps, she whispered. I want to be part of this, a soft voice spoke up, pulling Tom's focus away from the edge of his anxiety. A young woman in the back had tears in her eyes. I feel so lost right now. I lost my father last month. He was my rock. A heavy silence fell over the group as everyone took the gravity of her words in. Tom's heart ached for her, but then he felt a surge of responsibility. This was the real reason they were here, to uplift one another, to share burdens lightened by companionship. We all face struggles, he began, his voice steady now. And we're going to face more battles ahead. But here, in this space, we can lean on each other. I want to share my story too. Another raised their hand, and soon everyone was vying to lend their voices. Minutes rolled into hours as they crafted their purpose, their plans solidifying like clay molded by eager hands. Tom felt like a shepherd guiding them through the storm, the tension in his chest slowly dissipating. But even as laughter erupted and plans unfolded, one thought nagged at Tom. What if they faced an unexpected challenge that shattered their newfound unity? He shivered at the thought, despite the warmth of the connections forming around him. Just as he began to believe in the momentum they had created, someone remarked, "But what happens when the people who don't believe in us come back to haunt us?" Tom's heart dropped. Would the naysayers return to break their bond? Was the fragile fabric of hope really strong enough to withstand attack? As laughter faded and uncertainty hung in the air, the room held its breath. Would they weather the storm that was sure to come? Tom's palms grew clammy. The moment felt pivotal. Could they truly protect the light they had found together? With that weight in his stomach, he grasped for confidence and searched the faces around him, hoping to find the courage he needed for what lay ahead. Would they stand firm against the shadows? Or was he about to find out just how strong their resolve truly was? Silence lingered, thick as fog, winding tightly around every person in the room. Tom could feel the weight of uncertainty settle like a stone in his chest, squeezing hope from his heart. The faces around him, just moments before filled with laughter, now reflected quiet concern. Did they sense the looming shadows as well? In that charged atmosphere, Sarah leaned in closer. "We're stronger together," she whispered, her faith a gentle light cutting through the dark. Tom caught her gaze, and for a moment, the knot in his stomach loosened. Maybe she was right. Wasn't he that the very essence of what they were trying to build? Just then, Tim stood up from his chair. "You know what? We can't worry about the naysayers. This is about us and what we can do together." His voice quivered with emotion, bouncing off the walls, drawing everyone's eyes to him. "Exactly." Another voice chimed in. "We'll create our own narrative. We'll be the story of resilience." We've already started to bond. What is a few bad voices against a community like this? The energy shifted, a palpable change. Tom felt the spark igniting once more. A flicker of hope. It was small, but growing. The young woman who had shared her grief earlier wiped her tears and nodded. "I need this," she said, her voice strong. "We all need this. There may be storms ahead, but together, we can shield one another." The room erupted into a chorus of agreement. Tom's breath caught in his throat with every nod and murmur of support. As they brainstormed the structure of their gatherings, laughter simmered back into the air. They didn't have a roadmap yet, but souls intertwined created the feeling of being on a journey together. Tom smiled. The light in the room felt brighter. "I know someone who can help us organize this." "I'll reach out," Sarah declared, urgency coloring her words. "Let us schedule our first meeting now," Tim suggested, enthusiasm lighting his eyes. Names and potential dates were tossed around, voices rising in excitement. Just as they settled on a third Saturday of the month, a tentative hand raised from the corner of the room. A middle-aged man with weary eyes spoke, "And what if we fail? What if we can't do this?" Tom's heart raced, the air suddenly colder. The doubts faintly echoed back, and he could sense a chill growing in the room, as if the shadows were trying to seep back in. He clenched his fists, unsure how to respond. "We rise when we fall," someone shot back, but the man's question lingered, heavier than before. "I think we must expect bumps in the road," Tom said, finally finding his voice. "But those bumps don't define us. We'll face failures like any journey, but together we can learn and move forward." His words hung in the air. People nodded, but he could see the glimmers of worry still hiding in the corners of their eyes. After a brief silence, Sarah spoke up once more. "Let us not forget why we are here. We are here to grow and support each other through struggles. If we stumble, we'll pick each other up. No one is alone." As the energy rekindled and laughter floated back, Tom felt that knot relax a little more. He could almost see the strands weaving together, a tapestry of shared stories and purpose forming amidst doubt. But just as he felt the warmth of camaraderie envelop them, a sudden noise shattered the moment, a loud crash outside. It echoed ominously, stealing attention from their thoughts. Everyone turned toward the window just in time to see a car skidding, tires squealing against the pavement. Tom's heart dropped. Was this a sign? Would the chaos they were trying to escape return to haunt them after all? He could see the concern in their faces, the questions forming in their minds. Would they really be ready for the unexpected storms ahead? With trepidation tightening in his chest again, he wondered, what would happen to their growing community when true trials began to test their bonds? The stakes felt suddenly real, and the moment hung heavy in the air as they each took a breath, sharing in the uncertainty. What if this was just the beginning of challenges that could shake them to their core? The sound of the crash reverberated through the room, slicing through their fragile sense of unity. Tom felt his skin prickle, adrenaline surging to the forefront of his mind. The faces around him wore expressions of shock, concern etched deeply into their features. He felt responsible. Had his words of hope just moments before called this chaos into existence? What was that? Someone asked, their voice trembling. I don't know, Tom stammered, feeling more lost than ever. Panic began to trickle in around the edges of the camaraderie they had built. It was like watching a defiant flame dance amidst a gathering storm. Sarah squeezed his hand tightly, a lifeline in the tumult. Stay calm. Let us just check it out, she said, though her voice quavered slightly. Tom nodded, but inside, fear churned and twisted, threatening to push him back into uncertainty. They approached the window, curiosity mixed with fear drawing them like moths to a flickering light. As the group slowly gathered, a collective gasp escaped their lips. Outside, two cars had collided at the intersection outside their building, metal crumpling against metal, sounds of shattering glass melding with the sirens wailing in the distance. We should call for help, someone shouted, pulling out their phone. The bustling concern amongst the group shifted towards practical needs, yet the mutual anxiety hung thick in the air. Tom's heart sank. Instead of betting on the strength of their connection, they were faced with an unsettling reminder of the chaos outside. Everything feels so fragile, he thought, gripping the windowsill, his knuckles turning white. How could they expect to build something meaningful when danger lurked just beyond their sanctuary? Hey, Tom, Tim's voice broke through his thoughts. Maybe it's a sign that we need to do more than just meet and talk? Tom glanced at Tim, trying to read the unguarded hopefulness in his eyes. What do you mean? We could help, Tim continued, urgency lighting his words. This is our chance to show what we're about. Imagine if we went out there, helped those people. It's time to put our words into action. Tom wanted to believe, to let the swirling emotions churn into something productive. But fear gripped him. But what if we aren't equipped? What if we make things worse? Sarah's grip tightened on his wrist. Tom, the only way to know what we can achieve is to find out. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll be there for each other, just like we talked about. He could see others around him stirring with purpose. Faces that moments ago had been strained with worry now sparked with determination. The raw energy filled the room, transforming uncertainty into a collective resolve. Tom's heart raced. He could feel the walls closing in with the pressure of their decision, but when he looked at Sarah, her eyes alive with conviction, he felt the knot within him finally start to unravel. Okay, let us do it. As they filed outside, adrenaline coursed through them, a shared understanding that they were stepping into the chaos together. They would take on the world, uncertain of what lay ahead, but willing to face it all as a united front. The sight before them was overwhelming: the wreckage, shards of glass glinting under the harsh streetlights, the sounds of the sirens creating a dissonant backdrop to their resolve. Would they truly be able to make a difference? Stay close, Tom called out, glancing back at the group. Together. The rallying cry echoed softly among them, but just as they approached the cars, a voice shattered the atmosphere. A figure emerged from the shadows, eyes wild with fear, but alight with a determination that mirrored their own. We need to get them out. The figure yelled, urgency lacing every word. They had running momentum, but it was truly time to choose. Would they jump in headfirst into the chaos, or were they prepared to run back into the safety of their cocoon? Tom's pulse quickened. The moment of truth was dawning. Would they risk everything to be heroes? Would they find the resilience they were so eager to talk about? Or was this the ultimate test that would unravel the very fabric they had just begun to weave? With the crash echoing in their minds, Tom stood frozen for a heartbeat. The urgency of the figure before them cut through his fear, wrapping around his heart like a tight band. "Go!" Sarah shouted, breaking the spell. Even as her voice rang with authority, Tom could see her own fear reflected in her eyes. But her words ignited something within him, a spark he didn't know he still had. He took a step forward, feeling the others surge behind him. They reached the wreckage, chaos swirling around them like wind whipping up dust. The two cars were a tangle of metal, smoke curling up into the night sky. A woman screamed from inside one of the vehicles, her voice a jagged plea for help. "Help! Please help!" Tom's heart pounded in his chest. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. He glanced at Sarah, and her nod gave him the push he needed. They moved closer, the group beginning to form a barrier between the chaos and those who were injured. "Okay," Tom breathed, feeling the adrenaline ignite within him. "Let us work together. We need to see if anyone is hurt." As he reached the driver's side, the wild-eyed figure, now up close, was a young man, panic flaring in his expression. "They can't get out. I can't open the door," he cried, tugging frantically at the handle. Tom leaned in, pushing through the noise in his mind. "It's okay. We're here. We'll help." Tim, who had come to stand beside him, assessed the situation quickly. "The door is jammed." He glanced at Tom, their shared urgency now palpable. The others were fanning out, checking the other car, trying to calm the woman's screams, and calling for help while others used their phones. "On three, we push," Tim directed, hands already gripping the metal. "Wait," Sarah shouted, eyes wide. "We need to be careful. If she's injured," but the young man wasn't hearing any of it. "Just do it," he yelled again, dread lacing his voice. Tom could feel the heat rising, the pressure building in his chest. He nodded and braced himself. 1, 2, 3. With all their strength combined, they pushed against the door. Metal groaned, but finally, with a sickening crunch, it gave way. Inside, the woman's face was pale, tears streaking through dirt. The sight struck something deep within Tom, a wave of empathy washing over him. "Are you okay?" he called out, feeling for her hand, sore and trembling. I can't move," she gasped, despair painting her words. "We've got you," Tom assured her, feeling Sarah by his side, ready to catch her if needed. They worked methodically, helping her out of the vehicle while directing the young man away to ensure he wouldn't get hurt in the process. The chatter among the group changed from panic to higher energy. Even Tim, who had been wrestling with apprehension earlier, was fully engaged now, shouting encouragement to both the woman and the rest of the group. "Can someone check the other car?" he directed. With eyes darting nervously, they sprang into action again. Relief mingled with fear, propelling them forward. The energy was contagious, a force that each person used to power through. And just when it seemed they might actually succeed, another shout erupted from the shadows, an unrecognizable figure, their presence like a bolt of lightning cutting through the night. "Get back! Get away from there!" Tom turned sharply, a chill running down his spine. It felt as if they were inches away from a different kind of danger, one that could fracture not just their evening, but what they were building together. What now? He thought, heart racing anew. Could this chaos take a turn into something darker? Would they remain united, or would their courage unravel in the face of this unknown threat? "Who are you?" Tom called out, trying to catch a glimpse of the stranger. The panic in the man's voice sent a jolt of uncertainty through the group. "Get back!" The figure shouted again, stepping closer, his silhouette more defined against the smoke. The flash of red lights from distant emergency vehicles illuminated him, and Tom could see the wildness in his eyes. "You don't know what you're doing." Tim edged forward, his brow furrowed. "We're trying to help. People are hurt." The man scoffed, his words laced with desperation. "Help? You call this help? Get away from the wrecks. You'll regret it." The urgency in his voice shook something loose in Tom. Were they really in danger? The weight of the unknown pressed down. Yet the instinct to protect the vulnerable rose up within him. He couldn't just step away now. "He's right," Sarah said softly, placing a hand on Tom's arm. "We don't know what's going on. The best thing we can do is stay safe." But Tom shook his head. "No. We're not going to let fear dictate our actions. In a quick motion, the young man, the one who couldn't open the door, leaped toward the shadowy figure. You don't understand. Those are my friends. Don't. Tom yelled, reaching out, but it was too late. The man lunged forward, adrenaline transforming his fear into action. As he collided with the shadowy figure, a loud crash reverberated through the air, and the stranger stumbled backwards. It was a wild skirmish of lost hope and raw panic, a crescendo that sent ripples through the group. Stop. Get away. The figure shouted again, his voice a blend of fear and authority. Tom felt a surge of anger rush through him. They were trying to help. Why wouldn't this man understand? Listen to me, Tim shouted, trying to step in but feeling the tension crackle. We can't leave anyone behind. Suddenly, the stranger regained his balance and turned toward the wreckage again, eyes searching, as if the chaos contained a dark secret only he could decipher. They don't belong in there, he screamed. And neither do you. Tom took a breath, quicker now, his heart hammering in his chest. He glanced at the woman they had just saved. She looked fragile, her body shuddering as she struggled to catch her breath. Stay close, Sarah said, drawing the woman to her side, protecting her from the unfolding chaos. Tom felt caught between loyalty to their mission and the urgent warning of the strange man. What do you mean they don't belong? But the man didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back, revealing a shimmer just behind him. Something was glinting in the darkness, catching the light like a beacon. In that moment, a wave of realization washed over Tom. Something was deeply amiss. Tom, Tim shouted, pulling him from his thoughts. Get her to safety. Tom nodded but hesitated, his instincts pulling him toward that strange glow instead. He wasn't sure why, but it felt like a piece of the puzzle they were missing. As the scene morphed from frantic action to emotional tension, Tom turned his gaze back to the figure. What is going on? What are you not telling us? But the man merely shook his head, the fear palpable in his stance. The tension in the air thickened, carrying the weight of secrets untold. With every second that passed, it was clear they were standing on the precipice of something far bigger than a mere car accident. As the sirens wailed closer, the shadows cast by the lights danced across their faces. What was hidden in that wreckage? And what truth lay buried beneath the chaos they'd stumbled upon? The moment hung in the air, fragile and electric, demanding to be unraveled. Would they uncover the hidden truth or be consumed by the secrets lurking in the night? The air was thick with tension, each breath Tom took heavy with uncertainty. The stranger's warning echoed in his mind, lingering like the smoke curling around them. The glowing object drew him in, stirring a mix of fear and curiosity. What was it? Each flicker of light seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, urgent, alive. Tom. Sarah's voice cut through the haze. She was still clutching the woman, who now teetered on the edge of consciousness. We can't stay here. Please. Just a second, he replied, partly to himself as he stepped closer to the strange glow. Tim had retreated, trying to persuade the shadowy figure to back off, but Tom couldn't shake the feeling that whatever this was held the answers they desperately needed. As he approached, Tom noticed the glint was coming from a shard of metal, a bent piece of the wrecked car, but it shimmered with an unusual light. Words etched subtly into the surface caught his eye, something about a name, but it was too distorted to read clearly. Stunned, he reached out, fingers grazing the cool surface. The instant he touched it, the world shifted. The noise from the sirens faded, replaced by a piercing silence that made his ears ring. The air felt charged, electric as images flashed in his mind, visions of shadows moving behind trees, knots of figures whispering in the night, hurried breaths filled with fear. Tom, what is happening? Sarah's voice snapped him back. Panic replaced his awe. He stumbled back from the metal, a whirlpool of conflicting emotions swirling in his chest as reality crashed back in. The stranger stood before him, eyes wide. I told you to stay back, he rasped, panic crackling in his voice. Why? What is wrong? What are you hiding? Tom shot back, the anger bubbling to the surface. Why all don't understand they're not just injured, okay? They're different. The stranger's voice cracked, revealing layers of fear and urgency. You need to leave. Now. Before he could respond, another loud crash came from the direction of the wreckage. It was louder this time, vibrating through the ground like a distant thunder, as if the earth itself protested. The sparks of concern flared in Tom's eyes. Something was stirring within the wreckage, something that belonged to the secrets hidden in the shadows. Get back! Tim yelled as he pulled the stranger away, attempting to shield him from harm. The man struggled against Tim's grip, wanting to break free, his eyes locked on the glowing metal. Stop! The stranger screamed, his intensity overwhelming. That's what they want. You have to trust me. In that moment, a shudder ran through the ground, making everyone stagger. The wreckage shifted, groaning like a living entity. Glimmers of light began to pulse from within, a heartbeat in sync with the chaos they found themselves amidst. I can't just let them be, Tom said, desperation clawing at his throat. He wanted to help, but there was a deeper instinct urging him to flee. That's exactly what they want, the stranger replied, his voice rising. Please. If you care at all, you'll move. As the shadows around them lengthened, Tom felt the pull of the wreckage, but he also felt Sarah's hand tightening on his arm, grounding him. He met her frightened gaze, and in that silent exchange, he realized the depth of the decision they faced. Stay and uncover the mystery, or run and risk unknown dangers. The sirens grew louder, illuminating the chaotic scene, but the answer wasn't clear, it wasn't black or white. It was layered in mystery and dread. Tom, we need to decide now. Tim's voice rushed him back, fired with urgency, and then, from that wreckage, a figure began to emerge, hunched and torn, glimmering with the fractured light of hope and despair both. What is this? Tom whispered, his heart racing as the figure stepped into view. Would this be the moment they finally uncovered the truth, or would it drag them deeper into danger they couldn't escape? Tom's heart raced. The figure emerging from the wreckage flickered in and out of view like a ghost, shrouded in both light and shadow. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to protect himself and Sarah and everyone around him. Yet, something deeper held him rooted to the spot. Help! Please help me! The figure cried out, their voice piercing through the chaos. It was unlike anything he had ever heard, raw and full of pain. You have to trust me. Who are you? Tom shouted back, his heart beating in his throat. He felt Sarah's grip tighten even more, and a glance at her mirrored the concern he felt. We need to stay together. The figure stumbled forward, their movements jerky and desperate. As they drew closer, Tom could see the details: clothes torn and dirty, skin marked with bruises, and eyes that seemed utterly lost yet filled with an intense, flickering light. They're coming, the figure gasped, glancing behind them as if expecting shadows to crawl forth from the wreckage. You have to help me. They can't catch me again. Tom exchanged glances with Tim and Sarah. In that moment of uncertainty, the lingering tension in the air shifted. The crowd around them had melted away, leaving a hushed silence, punctuated only by the sound of distant sirens. Okay, we'll help you, Tom said, stepping forward despite the alarms blaring in his head. Just tell me what we need to do. His voice felt more confident than he truly was. Get the other one out, the figure urged, pointing. They're hurt worse, but if we don't act now they'll be lost. Tom hesitated. What do you mean lost? Before the figure could answer, another shudder passed through the earth, and the wreckage groaned ominously once more. Fear gripped Tom again, but something inside stirred a flicker of hope that maybe this was their moment to be heroes, to transform fear into action, to redefine what family and community could be. Let us do this, Tom shouted, rallying the group behind him. He felt their collective energy surge anew, the fear flickering into something bright and tangible. We can save them. Tom and Tim rushed back toward the wreckage, the figure guiding them with urgency. They need you now. As they approached, the air grew thick with tension. The shadows in the wreckage pulsated ominously. Okay, Tom shouted in encouragement. We're here. We're going to get you out. Just hold on. The wreckage shifted again, groaning deeply, but amidst the chaos, a screech filled the air, a voice caught between fear and unwavering hope. "Help!" echoed from within. That voice ignited a spark in Tom's chest. He saw strength in the fragile beams of light around him and felt the bonds they had begun to forge through friendship and resilience. Tom and Tim braced themselves against the door, ready to force it open, but before they could act, the figure whispered more urgently. "On three, push. Stay together." Tom's confidence surged, bolstered by the looks of determination exchanged with Sarah and Tim. 1, 2, 3. With every fiber of their being, they pushed, the metal bending and creaking in protest. It felt like a lifetime in that moment, watching the door yield with all their strength. Finally, the door popped open, and out fell a young man, dazed and clutching his side. Exhausted spirits lifted as Tom, Sarah, and Tim rushed to him, offering warmth and the hand of friendship. "You're safe now. We're here." But that fleeting moment disappeared as the ominous figure who had first warned them drew closer, a haunted gaze looking for reassurance amongst the chaos. "We need to leave now," he implored. "They'll be here any moment." "Who will be here?" Tom demanded, feeling every ounce of courage shift within. The other figure turned to see the crowd behind them, huddled and terrified. Those seeking control over all they touch. "Only darkness sees light for what it is." "Then we'll be the light," Tom shouted, resolve swelling in him. And just like that, with fierce determination sparkling in their eyes, they formed a protective circle around the survivors. The energy shifted again, this time blossoming into trust, a bond more flexible than any of them thought possible. Together, they backed away cautiously, steadying each other, but Tom knew the fight was far from over. As they moved, the sirens grew louder and the uncertain shadows edged closer. In that moment, dodging the darkness and holding hands through fear, Tom realized something immense. They weren't just helping each other, they were redefining strength, family, and the very essence of community by sharing their burdens, not just carrying them alone. Hope surged brighter than the night shadows, and as light met dark, they embraced their choice to redefine themselves with a community forged in resilience, taking back their lives. And as the sirens faded into the distance, each heartbeat echoed their promise to protect one another, not just from the dangers that lurked in shadows, but from the despair that whispered for their silence. In that instance, they chose connection. They chose courage. They chose each other. Now, more than ever, they were ready. This was their moment of truth. As the crowd gathered, the warmth of their shared stories burst forth. "Together, we can," Tom declared, a radiant smile plastered across his face as they turned, delighted to face the dawn of a new day filled with possibilities. Now, the real challenge awaited them, and they were ready. Now is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and empower. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more incredible souls like you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Let us know how it moved you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They'll thank you for it. Together, we can spread hope and connection.